Hi everyone, welcome to another deck profile for the Gfkygo YouTube channel. This deck is known as Rescue Cat OTK, or as I like to call it, just Beast OTK. Basically, if you don't know what the deck does, it revolves around Rescue Cat and Last Will in tandem to basically just OTK your opponent with cards like Millis Radiant, cards like Wombat, Gfkygo Panda, just a bunch of cards that accumulate a ton of attack points and then just put out huge damage against your opponent. So you just make your cute little kitty cats and your cute little animals really beefy. So, you know, very fun deck. Very extremely inexpensive because most of these cards come in common. Rescue Cat is a fair bit on the expensive side just because of it was a little meta relevant for a little bit with a few certain kinds of decks, but regardless, this is the deck and I hope you guys enjoy. Starting off with the monsters, you have to, of course, play 3 copies of the cat in question, 3 Rescue Cat. If you don't know what this does, you tribute it on your side of the field, summon 2 beast, level 3 or lower beast monsters from your deck, and then at the end phase they get destroyed. So basically, if you're going to use Rescue Cat, you better be intending on setting up, I don't know, you're not really setting up anything, setting yourself up for an OTK. That's the only time that you really want to use this card, and I guess it kind of makes sense because that's what the deck is built on. So 3 Rescue Cat, very important. To get to Rescue Cat, we play 3 copies of Giant Rat. This is also very good because when you're not OTKing, because you can't always OTK on the second turn, you're going to want to set up plays with Giant Rat. So really important to play 3 Giant Rat so that you can just stay alive, put a body on board, and then cycle through to a Rescue Cat. So important there. And then we play 3 copies of the OTK enabler Millis Radiant. So usually what you want to do is use Rescue Cat and summon out 2 of these, and then use Last Will, which I'll kind of touch on later, to summon another one of these and another beast. So all of their attack points, if you don't know what it says, it basically just says all earth monsters, rather, gain 500 attack, all earth-type monsters on the field. Your opponents also do that, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to be playing the most amount of earth monsters. And then also wind monsters lose 400 attack and defense. It doesn't really matter, but basically what you want to do is just pump these guys out onto the field. They do stack, so it'll be 1500, 1500, 1500, and then one of your other guys will also get 1500. So really dumb. And then you just attack all their stuff and put your opponent's life points to 0. So very important card. And then another card that also is in the similar vein of Giant Rat is 3 Nimble Momonga. This card is one of my favorite cards in the deck. When it's destroyed by battle, you can special summon 2 Nimble Momongas from your deck and face down the defense position. And then also when they're destroyed by battle, you can gain 1,000 life points. So it helps you not die, and also just gets you to more bodies on board. Plus 1,000 attack is like pretty alright, and it's a level 2, so you can summon it off of your Rescue Cat as well. So very good card. And then for some one-ofs, we play 1 Wombat. This card is pretty okay. It's got big attack for a level 3, and of course it's a beast. The effect doesn't really do anything. It just says as long as it's on the field, any damage by a card effect is 0. So I guess you can't like burn people with a ring, but that's really not that big of a deal. The only point of playing this card is it's beefy, and it can be powered up to 3,100 attack by 3 Millis Radiant, so that's really why you play it. 1 Gfkygo, or I can't pronounce this, Gfkygo Panda, I believe is its name. If you don't know what it does, it increases the attack. You can increase the attack of this card by 500 for each monster on your opponent's side of the field, and then when it attacks an opponent's monster, it does piercing damage. So really the only point of it is if your opponent has a bunch of monsters on field and you need to get over them, Gfkygo Panda is the one to summon. In any other scenario, you'd want to summon Wombat, but they just have a little bit more utility for any kind of scenario, which is why you only play one. And then you play 3 of the big chonker Gigantes. I always want to call them Gigantes. I don't know why. I think I used to call them that as a kid. But regardless, Gigantes is fantastic. A lot of people get really confused that this is actually a goat card, but it actually is. It can only be special summoned, and you can special summon it by banishing an earth monster from your graveyard, so a giant rat, a Nimble Momonga, whatever. And then also when it's destroyed by battle, you can just, it's a heavy storm. So really, really good. Gigantes is really good to get over a lot of monsters. Also, it's just another body you can put on board, and it fulfills the requirement of being an earth, so you can pump it up to even more attack than it already has. So super, super good. A lot of utility, especially clearing up monsters. And then another card that works the same way is 2 Bazooka. It's kind of sad that it's a level 4, so you can't summon it off of your rescue cat, but Bazooka is really interesting. You can banish 3 monsters from your graveyard, and then it gains, I believe, 300 attack for each of those banished cards. This is super subjective. I play this because it's really easy to out like any of the chaos monsters. It outs anything with big defense. I just really like Bazooka in this deck, and also it combos well with another card that I'll kind of explain later. So I think 2 Bazooka is perfect in the deck. And then 1 copy of Exiled Force. This is because you can summon it really easy off of Giant Rat. I also thought about playing the Injection Fairy Lily because it is also an Earth, and you can pump up Fairy Lily to like beyond game. I need to test with it a little bit more and see what I can cut, but I think Exiled Force is a good, it's just like a good generic card, so 1 Exiled Force is perfectly fine in the deck. To move on to the spells, we play 2 Last Will. This is the card that combos super well with Rescue Cat. What it does basically is if it's sent, or when a monster is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can activate this card and special summon a monster with 1500 or less attack from your deck. So you basically just activate this. When Rescue Cat gets destroyed, you special summon another Rescue Cat, activate its effect, and then even if you have another Last Will, you could activate it again if you really wanted to. But the point of it is you just resolve Rescue Cat twice, basically, in a turn. So really, really good. 3 is a little wonky, so I only really like to play 2. So that's you don't want to draw too many of those because you can brick with them. And then for back row removal, we do play 3 copies of Giant Trunade. We're an OTK deck. We're trying to win in 1 turn. I don't care about giving my opponent all their stuff back. Giant Trunade is very, very good in the deck. OTK enabler for sure. 1 Heavy Storm works the same way as Trunade. MST just because you need more like spell and trap removal, and it's just a good card, period. And then for the rest of the spot removal stuff, we play 2 Noblemen of Crossout, generic, understandable. We don't play any flips, so we don't really care about banishing a Moth or anything. 2 copies of Smashing Ground. This card is fantastic. It works the same kind of way as a lot of other cards. It's just supposed to clear up problematic monsters your opponent has that you can't get rid of, including like 1,000 Eyes or anything like that. So Smashing Ground's really good. And then a really good card in this deck is 2 copies of Scapegoat. I'm thinking of cutting this down to 1, but it really helps with the stalling aspect of the deck, and also because they're all Earth monsters, you can boost them by giving, like, you could activate a Scapegoat and then summon a Millis Radiant, and if you're attacking directly with all of those, you can put out a lot of damage with just 2 cards. They each gain 500, and then Millis is at 800, so that's 28 damage that you're just doing to your opponent, which is insane. So really interesting utility you can have with this card, but also it's just a good, floater and stop your opponent from doing damage to you. And then for the rest of the one-ofs, we play 1 Pot of Greed, of course, 1 Graceful, of course, 1 Preemie, of course, and 1 Snatch Steal. These are all generic. Preemie is really good in this deck because it almost works as a pseudo Last Will, because you can Rescue Cat, and then Preemie, summon back the Rescue Cat again. So you have the combo again, so this is like another copy of Last Will in a way. You'll notice that I don't play Duo. That is something really, really important. You do not have to play Duo in this deck because you're not aiming to, like, outskill your opponent. All you're trying to do is stall your opponent until you can kill them in a turn. So that's why we only play those one-ofs. I just think it's super unnecessary in the deck, and you're better off setting yourself up for the OTK than doing anything else other than that, so that's why I don't play the Duo. And then the last 3 cards of the deck, we play 1 copy of Mirror Force, it's Mirror Force, 1 Ring of Destruction, it's Ring. It also helps you because this is an OTK deck. You can leave like a really big chonker on the field and you can just blow it up with Ring. And then you have 1 copy of Return from the Different Dimension. This card is fantastic. In this deck, I haven't really given it as much testing as I have in my last deck profile of Thunder Dragon. Return is really, really interesting in this deck because it is an OTK enabler, but it's kind of a late game OTK enabler. So I might want to cut this and think about the playing the the Injection Fairy Lily. But we're just going to have to see what happens. For now, though, Return is a really interesting card, and I think it's really funny to still pull off. You basically just like set up your banish pile with Bazoo, and then you activate this. It's a fine one-of. Doesn't really affect the deck very poorly, so I'm fine with it at 1. And that's the deck. Really, the only things to really worry about is when playing this deck is you should not care about your grave setup. You don't care about your banish setup unless you have Return. You don't really care about anything other than stalling, and just going for game in a turn. Also, another thing to really keep in mind, don't worry about having people attack you directly or setting one and passing. Your life points are only supposed to keep you alive until you can kill your opponent. That is something really important that I've found with the deck. And don't try to focus on like trying to protect yourself, especially against like weak decks. Your life points don't matter. What matters is getting the OTK off and having your opponent feel really safe in all the cards that they have, and then just killing them in a turn. So, really important. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day killing people with this deck, because this deck is fun. See ya.